This video was brought to you by Noble Knight Games. More about them at the end of the video. Hey everybody, Kimberly here, and I cannot wait to tell you what is so cool about Apiary. Now, this is not going to be a tutorial or a how to play, but I'm going to show you all the cool components, how replayable this is, and also how accessible it is. Because for me, Stonemaier Games really is a step above a lot of other publishers in that they make it so easy to get into the game, knowing that it's been well play tested, so the balance is there, especially when you get those asymmetrical starts, which this game offers, and a lot of Stonemaier Games does that, like in Tapestry, a real favorite in my house. You've got a totally unique hive, every player starts with one, and you also have a unique faction, one of 20, and that is not the only thing that is variable in this game, which makes it super replayable, but it is well tested. You have fantastic player aids on your turn, at the end of your turn, during your game, at end game, and on the backside, every single image and what it is. So I just really adore that. And not only that, there is a one-page teaching guide. So once you've read the rules, once you've set it up, there is a teaching guide. And I have a lovely friend that I get to see every year at Board Game Geek Con, and that is what he does all the time for games that don't do this. So this teaching guide just allows you to set up gameplay, tiles, action spaces, Queen's favorite game end. It gives you those highlights of here's how the game works, here's how to set it up, here's that main play, and here's how the game will wrap up. So just really lovely accessibility and fantastic components. As always, the quality is here, along with this wonderful artwork. So let's dive in. Now I've got my own little tray here. This is like all my bits and pieces. So again, if you don't know what all your bits and pieces are, look at this. The green guys, fiber. The yellow flowery guys, pollen. Blue water drops, water. The one thing I will say is really hard to tell the difference between is wax and honey. Wax is hard to pick up because it's got these drop down. It's got the, it kind of like goes wider at the base and skinnier at the top, and it's cylindrical. So this is wax and it is gold, or maybe gold. It's close to copper gold. And then the little pot that looks like a little bee pot is that you know Winnie the Pooh would have, is your honey. So really hard to tell apart, super hard to pick up. That's going to be one of my biggest critiques, but it's actually quite small in comparison to everything else that the game offers. So I'm going to put all the bits and pieces over here. Everybody has these really cool little worker bees, and they have a 1 side, a 2, a 3, and a 4. And so it's like having a D4, a rectangular D4, and these are your little bees, and they're going to get stronger and stronger until they hibernate when they hit 4 and they activate, and then they're going to go hibernate, and you essentially have to bring more bees into your worker force. Just a really wonderful mechanism with your worker placement. Everybody's going to start with a set number of the little worker bees. And the way you know is you look at your faction tile. So I started with Nika, and Nika has an anytime ability. Some of these faction tiles, I told you there were, I almost lost the whole stack. There are 20 of. And I just think it's amazing. Not only do they have a special ability, they have their starting workers, they also have their starting resources. And the thing that's highlighted is what you begin with, and what's pictured in the space is what you get to keep. This is your resource management. This is your allotment for the start of the game. And if you see 2 things pictured, it can take either or. This one's going to start with the water and then one of those fibers, which is the green guy. And there is an ability here. When you place a worker, you may adjust its strength by +1, -1. Well, then the one beneath it, Pomon, and you'll see stars just mean these are the recommended beginning tiles for the game. So that's really nice to get started if you're not sure like how to pick these. You can just say, well, everyone's going to get one of the starting tiles. Again, accessibility, planning, balance, it's all there. So this one says you start with a 2 worker, a 1 worker, and a 1 worker, but there's an endgame ability of adjacency. And this one's going to start with those resources. And you simply just go through and you can see that these are all different. You know, Utel, for example, here doesn't start with any resources at all. Oh, actually, it looks like they start with down here a wax. It's highlighted. You can barely see it above that. So they start with 1 wax. And then it says when you explore a planet, gain a resource, starting workers. This one starts with 2 2s. So, it just depends on what you get, what your faction is, but that's going to be really, really cool and super fun. And you're going to play it right here on your faction starting tile, and you're going to put it on your space. Now, this beehive is unique. Let me show you. There are all of these other factions. So there's the Ware, and when you place a tile, one of these tiles or one of these tiles, over one of those spaces, you're going to get that bonus, whatever that bonus action or resource is. It might be a card. It might be a Queen's Favor, which is going to give you victory points at the end of the game, but could also be used as a resource in the game. Yeah, Langstroth, over here, things just cost a lot less. This is like your really, really good, strong builder bee colony, I would say. The Poppleton, here you've got some Queen's Favor, some victory points. You just get to build something for free right here. Amazing. And you'll notice you'll also see down here, end game, gain 8 victory points if filled. So if you fill everything in here, whatever your starting, colony is, whatever your beehive is, you're going to get 8 points. Here you're going to be able to gain more of those bees. And most people start with 1 or 2 in the supply that they can have access to until they gain them with this particular symbol. So the log really regenerates quite well. And I started here with this one. So I'm the Skep. I just wanted to make sure I show you a couple of these options because that's one of my favorite things about this game is the options and the versatility of having just so much variety in this game. So what a player is going to do, if we take a look at on your turn, you're going to place a worker on an action and perform it, or you're just going to retrieve all your workers. And that's really common with these worker placement. Perhaps you've run out of workers and you want to take them back. Maybe you want to take them back just a little bit early. You can do that too. You don't have to wait until you're already, depleted of your workers. But when you do that, retrieve workers, it's actually a really, really good action. It's going to allow you to gain income from your ongoing cards. You'll see this little arrow that goes this way and that way in a circle. You're going to be gaining those things if you have those tiles built in your area, which is great. Everyone loves getting income. It's a great way to kind of reset and get some really cool stuff. But placing a worker means you're going to put it out on the board somewhere. And I have to say, when I first started playing this game, it just can be really overwhelming because there are so many different places that you can place your worker. And I mean, kind of like my favorite game from last year, Lacrimosa, you feel like, okay, I got it. But then there's like a whole new section. You're like, oh, wow, that's a lot. And then you're like, okay, I'm ready to play. And then you're like, there's a whole new section to learn. And so there's just a lot of iconography, but the gameplay itself is really streamlined and straightforward. Again, much like my favorite game from last year, this game does hit the spot for me with that kind of medium weight strategy game with worker placement and resource management. 2 really strong, fun mechanics that really get played in my house. So you're going to take one of your 2s or your 1s and you're just going to put them into one of these spaces that looks like there's a spot. So if you see this spot right here, you can put it in there and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to put my worker bee there. And in advance, this is a place for you to grab these tiles. Now, there are a couple of requirements. This gives you a boost of 1 + 1. So I'm going to have a point value of 2, which means if I go here with a 2, I'm not going to be able to get the 3+ or the 5+. That means I'm going to have to put a higher value B, or when someone bumps you down, then they might add those together and get a higher value. So there's a real balance of where do I go? Is someone going to bump me? And bumping is not the worst thing because you go down into a space if there are 2 spaces, or if someone bumps you out of the single spaces, then that bee is going to come back to you in either your active pool or your landing area, depending on what you want, unless it's a 4. If it's a 4, that bee hibernates, like I said before. 4 bees have to hibernate. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, I want to take one of these. Now, what do I have? I have a lot of resources, and it looks like I could buy this biochemist for 1 pollen. I think it's pollen. Yeah, the little yellow. There we go, pollen. 1 wax, which I don't have, or 1 fiber and 1 water. Now it looks like I can buy this one or this one. So when you look at it, you're looking at victory points in the corner at the end of the game. Great. This is the cost. This is going to be my new storage ability. I can now take more of the pollen and the fiber, and during my refresh, when I bring all my dudes back, my little bees, I'm going to be able to take another. I can take one from the supply and start it off fresh at number 1 value. Really, really cool. I'm thinking that might be my best bet. Or the biochemist. The biochemist says once per turn, I can trade any basic resource for any other basic resource. And my special ability as Nika says that I can at any time convert 3 basic resources for 1 honey. Honey is here where you get to have like the really cool end game victory points. These are like the massive, massive things. Like if you look at the ranking of resources, it's you've got your fiber and your water, then you've got your pollen, then you've got your wax, and then you've got your honey. And the honey's really hard to get. So I kind of have a leg up on getting some honey, which might allow me to get these really cool honey tiles, which, I mean, this is really good. I really like it. I'm not sure, you know, depending on what I see my opponents having, I might go for something that I can actually take or nab before them and then actually get the other tile too. So I'm just going to say I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to pay 1 fiber and 1 water. And all I do is just put them back in the supply. And now I'm going to place it into my player area. And what I cover up, I need to be adjacent to my main tile or any previously placed tile. I can't just throw it out here in the middle of nowhere. It's just floating around in space. It has to be attached to my unit. I'm just going to get it. So maybe I'll get another one of those pollens. So I'm going to cover that up. I'm going to get a pollen. And the reason is perhaps, oh, nope, I can't get a pollen. Oh, yes, I can. I can put it right there. You have to make sure you have space for it. I could have only grabbed a pollen, a fiber, or the water, which, good. Okay, so now I'm going to replace these tiles. They're gonna slide down and we are going to put in a brand new one. So now we've got some tiles that are getting cheaper as they go down, as people take them. So if something is too expensive under the 5, maybe later it's gonna be 3+ or 2+, depending on how many people buy stuff ahead of you. But I'm kind of looking ahead to getting this navigator, this caretaker, that might give me a really cool bonus. So that's it. I played a bee. That's my turn. And I'm just going to place a worker. And then at the end of my turn, discard any resources I can't store. And if I discard any resources that way, I'm going to advance on the queen's favor. Now, this is a really cool feature. I like this. So let's say you got way too much and you're like, dang it, I just lost all those resources. No, you didn't. You didn't lose all the resources. You will move up on this track. And at the end of the game, you're going to receive victory points for queen's favor. And there are other ways to get that too. You can also get victory points for queen's favor. You're going to be able to move up 2 times or 1 time when you explore. And there are other ways that you're going to essentially get that queen's favor. You can come here when you hibernate, a 4B. You get to come down here to the hibernation comb and you get to cover up one of these spaces and get that cool bonus. And then at the end of the game, you're going to take a look at who's got the most. So here's my opponent. Let's say they snuck in and got 3. They're going to have majority. They get the 7. I'm going to get the 2. And the other thing about hibernating your 4Bs and placing down these hibernation tokens is, let's say we're only in a 2-player game, as I've got everything set up for 2 players. Once we fill in all these spaces, that means that that's the end of the game. That's our trigger. So the amount of bees that we hibernate to level 4 is as fast as the game is going to go, and we're going to simply score it like that. So nice feature with the hibernation and how that works. I really, really like it. So just a couple other places that we want to look at. So again, tiles are going to give you great stuff. You have cost, you have victory points, and other resources. I talked about these. These are really, really good. These are your honeybee comb tiles. They're hard to get, but they're very valuable. Research down here means you're just going to get cards. You're going to take a look at cards. It says draw as many cards as you put your B value. So let's say I put my 2B value here. I'm going to draw 2, keep 1, and discard the rest. So I'm going to take a look at these cards, and the cards have a couple things. They're always a resource. If you ever want to use a card as a resource, you just say basic resource, done. So water, pollen, or fiber. There is an ability that you get to play on your turn. You can pay these little yellow guys to gain any of the bees. Done. Or you can tuck, and it's called a seed card. So if you ever want to plant a card, you're going to get the end game bonus, and you only have space for 2 unless you unlock by investing in a frame that you put adjacent to your colony, and now you've got more space to grow. And you're going to upgrade your faction tile here, you're going to plant here, and you are going to gain frames under grow. I was just there. If you come here, you're allowed to get some more bees, and you're also allowed to get that frame, but you have to buy it. So there's cost everywhere you go. So let's say I took that other card and I discarded this one, and then I was able to plant it on a later turn because there are a variety of ways to plant, but that's your keyword. So research gives you cool cards that are super versatile, 3 different ways to use them. Grow lets you grow and also flip over your faction tile to give you a better faction bonus. Convert over here lets you trade out stuff for stuff. I mean, this is just amazing. And there's also a dance space. Now I have to say, all these keywords, all this bee language really does come from a knowledgeable expert with bees and beekeeping. So Connie Vogelman is the designer here, first-time designer. I love that Stonemaier picked up this game and really made it fit in with the Stonemaier vibe and the feel, because I love this. This is a bee dance. You are going to, as bees do, put on dances. You're going to be openly selecting any of these things. So let's say you want to trade a victory point in for a favor, or you want to set, let's do honey. Let's do a victory point for a honey. And then you are going to take your marker and you're going to put it there and say, I designed this dance. This is the dance that I made. Now, anybody can go there, including me. But if other people go there, I am going to receive a queen's favor because they liked my dance, they came here to convert, and they did my dance. And you get to have any number of conversions, meaning you can choose this, 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 or the dance. And you have that many times that you get to do one of those things. So you could do this twice, you could do this 3 times, you could do this 1, 2, 3, however many with your little bee guy. Fantastic. And then lastly up here is explore. You're going to move this massive queenship around. And I have to say, this might be my second critique, is this bee didn't need to be this big. It's massive. And I know that it's like the bee, and it's like the only thing that really stands out here, but it just seems like too big. It seems too big for me, and I know that's kind of silly, but she moves around just fine. I mean, she has a beautiful stand, and it's nice. She's kind of gray, but you're going to move it based on how many you go. So let's just say here that we are going to do the 4. I have worked my bees up by retrieving them, and they gain a strength when they come back to me. So every time I do my retrieve action, my 1s go to 2s, my 2s go to 3s, my 3 goes to 4, and my 4 hibernates. Hibernate is a very special, unique action, but I'm going to put my 4 here. I'm going to move this around. I get to move it up to the number of spaces that I see up there, so I can move it 4 spaces orthogonally. So let's say I come over here. I'm going to take this, I'm going to go 1, 2, got 2 spaces on the queen's favor, put it in my space on my landing mat, and now I'm going to flip over this tile and I'm going to place it here underneath me. Now, the first thing you're going to do is, if there is a box, you are simply going to pick a resource that you want to take. So let's take a water. I'm going to put 1 water here, and I'm going to put the water that I just took here in my player area. And now the queen bee is there. She can move around and continue exploring. Players are going to get these one-time bonuses when they go on those spaces. And if you ever come back to this space and there is a dotted line, you get to select the resource of your choice, all from the basic resources, put it on there, and collect everything that you see, not just the one you took. So these tiles are going to continue growing. Well, Lammy is a little stinker of a place. What I was kind of hoping for was something like this that activates your 4. So this says collect your end of round when you retrieve your retrieve bonuses from up to 3 of your green plant tiles. That's amazing. In the middle of the round, you put a 4 in your explore area and you put the queen bee here, you're going to get to activate that 4 before you hibernate. Saxifrage just starts off with a wild and then another one. So there are some really wonderful tiles out here that you can explore with the cool explore bonus. This is this is it. This is Apiary. I just wanted to walk through and show you all the really cool things and just how dynamic this is. So again, players are placing one of their bees or retrieving their bees, taking one turn at a time, going clockwise around the table. It is so fast and easy. The game times itself out based on the amount of players, and I have to say, for a 1 to 3 player side, perfectly timed. 4 to 5 players on the other side, that expands slightly and gives players that nice balance for the 4 to 5 player side. Just amazing. So during the game, you're going to be earning victory points in a variety of ways. At the end game, you're going to be getting those victory points as well, like the seed cards, filling up your mat, filling out your frames, you're getting these beehive tiles. I mean, so many things. You're going to score up all the points that you have in the corner of your hexes for your tiles. Your Queen's Favor track down here. If you have a faction ability, you're going to get that too. So just tons of lovely, lovely stuff here. So I have to say that Apiary really, really impressed me. I mean, it just was easy to get into despite having so many choices. And I love the replayability because, again, tons of factions, tons of beehive start cards, and then the variety with these stacks. I mean, these stacks of tiles are so big, you are not going to be seeing the same combination nor the same tiles for your farm, recruit, and development tiles. You're going to have different dances that are available. Look at this, so many different bee tiles. You only get to have these. These do not replace. These are all you get for the whole game. Now the beehive here, the carve section, does grow on the 4 to 5 player side, but this is balanced for a 1 to 3 player game. But that's it, you only have those, so you really have to fight for those. These one-time bonuses are mixed up and moved around. The tiles that you have for the locations out here in Explore, all going to be different, and you have this massive, lovely deck of your research cards that you are not going to see all of. I would say probably before a 3rd, 4th, 5th play of this game, and still the combination is going to be unique and different. So replayable, so playable, and super shareable. So I really, really like this game. I think it is dynamite. I had a couple caveats. Mostly it's like the bits. The bee's too big, the wax and the honey are too close together, and the wax is too hard to pick up. I have to say that's probably my biggest complaint. Everything else is, again, so accessible and super balanced. I was surprised that my beginning faction and my beginning tile was just so balanced compared to my fellow players. So lovely, lovely game. Cannot wait to get another play in of Apiary. Thanks for joining me in what I like about this game and what it offers. All right, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye. Noble Knight Games has been serving the needs of thousands of gamers worldwide for over 25 years. They specialize in both new and out-of-print RPGs, board games, war games, collectible card games, miniatures, and all things game-related. I've had a great experience selling games to Noble Knight over the past year with clean and easy pricing along with store credit or cash offered for both used and new games. They are my one-stop shop for all things gaming.